I know what you're thinking right now. There's not enough Colin Cowherd in my life. I hear it every day from my family. Listen, if you want more, subscribe. Next guest needs no introduction. He is the Super Bowl winning coach of the Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, two-time coach of the year. Whether he was an interim, the head coach, one of the most respected and liked guys in the NFL, and he looks so damn comfortable today. Look at you. Look at you. You look like you're going to go fishing in 15 minutes. You are just perpetually happy, aren't you?
It's that time of year to be happy. You win a few in a row, and you lose all your defensive backs, so why not?
It's funny, Bruce, you were Peyton Manning's first coach. And, Brady and Manning have some similarities, good height, throw a good ball, smart guys, work their ass off. I talked to Bill Polian once, and he said, Peyton was a little bit of a teeth clencher. He was a little tight, and we had to say, Peyton, you can lighten up. Tom's intense, but Bruce, it looks like a different intense. Like, where are there similarities and their differences?
Well, yeah, I think Peyton was like the ultimate prankster. When he was in the room, it was like take notes, pile notebooks. He had a notebook on every corner in the league. But in the locker room, he was the ultimate prankster. Pulling pranks on everybody, and those are legendary. Tom is laid back more. Again, preparation is meticulous. Grinds it out about every single little thing, and they both have that same quality. They're not losing. I don't give a shit what they're playing. They ain't losing.
Right. Bruce, were you worried at all that when this thing happened? I remember saying on the air, I said, I don't worry about Bruce and Tom. I said, but there's some young players, and Tom is intense, and he's not going to sit around. He's not going to be real patient with some of these young guys. Were you at all worried about, okay, here comes Tommy's culture, Tommy's intensity. Are my guys ready for Tommy's intensity? Was there ever a moment you worried a little bit about that?
No, I actually embraced it, and we needed it. We needed, that. We had everything. Everything was in place. We needed a guy who'd been there, done it, and they would follow. And, the first year you saw some of that. But the one thing about Tom, I didn't know how great a teammate he is. I mean, you talk about those young players, he coaches the hell out. He'll take them under his wing, whether it's off the field, TB12, anything, their assignments, how they're running routes, and just work with them constantly. And he's the ultimate teammate.
Has it made it easier for you? Do you find yourself going from, I'm a coach. I mean, you're always coaching, but sometimes you're almost now managing because Tom is so detail oriented.
Yeah, and it's fun for me because, I'll be telling the receiver, look, you're coming out of your break, you're not pumping your arms, and they'll say, okay. And Tom will go over, hey, look, when you're coming out of the break, you got to pump your arms because I'm throwing the ball over here. Okay, Tom. And they do it. So I'll tell him sometimes to tell them what I want to coach them on because they listen more. You know what I mean?
Has it been, Bruce, for you? I mean, you look fantastic. Has it made you younger? Is it, let's be honest about it. You're winning almost all your games here in the last 12. Take me to your life in the last 12 to 15 games. Is it easier to drive to work? Do the eggs taste better in the morning? Like, what's your life like?
Yeah, it's so much different. When you had that title Super Bowl winner, it changes everything. And my son always tells me, no, you ain't smarter. You just got that trophy now. And but it is a lot of fun because we have such a great coaching staff. And for me, I'm just riding the bus. We got great offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, entire staff. And I get way too much credit for the offense. I don't even go to the meetings. I mean, Byron runs this offense from top to bottom and doesn't get enough credit for it.
When will you get your first look at the game plan?
Normally, either Monday evening, Tuesday, I'll throw some things on Byron's desk. Normally he has it done by, he's one of those 4:30 in the morning guys, like Todd Bowles. I'm not a 4:30 in the morning guy.
Right.
So yeah, he'll have it done early. We'll sit down. We'll talk about, hey, how about we put this guy in that position? love the pattern. Who's the best to do that? That type of the same thing. Red zone. We'll sit down, Wednesday evening, and but we're not grinders. We're out of there early, and we're not in our office at 10:00.
And has it always been like that, or is it the Brady influence?
No, it's always been that way for me. Thursday night's been date night with my wife for 18 years. And, a lot of guys are grinding it out in the office on short yards and goal line or whatever their Thursday routine is. And it's like, for me, it's been out of there by 5:00 on Thursdays forever. And the same thing, to me, you can make this game really complicated, and if you're one of those teams that you're always looking for ideas from somebody else's film, then you don't really have an offense. We have a system that we just change it week to week to what we think the matchups are the best. The same thing, Todd does a great job defensively, putting those guys in position. Hey, we're going to do cover 2 this week, or we're going to play man this week, or we're going to not blitz at all. Just put the guys in position to be successful. And, they're great teachers, both of them. And Keith Armstrong, same way in special teams. They're all great teachers.
Tony Dungy had to talk Peyton Manning into that whole family thing. And Peyton wanted to get notes on Saturday or Friday. And Tony told me, he's like, hey, Peyton, you don't need to go through it again. Was Tony an influence for you on that?
No, I never worked with Tony, but Peyton was. I'd never gone home before a player. And our first years together in Indy, Thursday night, I'd be there like 6, 7. I said, dude, are you ever going home? No, we're going to watch this. I said, look, here's my number. I'm going to take my wife out to dinner. You got a question, call me. All right. I'm out of here. He called 2 or 3 times, hey, what about this against Chicago 2 years ago? I said, I haven't really watched that one, but I'm sure it's okay, whatever you're talking about.
Well, there is. One of the things I remarked I didn't like in college football a couple of years ago, they came up with a second recruiting signing date. And I said, shit, these guys got no lives. It used to be college, you get some summers off. So in the NFL, there are some miserable coaches. And to me, it's refreshing to hear people, because I always had this theory in my business: prep like hell and let her rip. Don't overthink the room. If you've been doing something for 20 years, you can watch film, Bruce, and I guarantee you can watch film. And even if you won 28-0, you'll pick the flaws out first time watching the film.
Yeah.
So do you think sometimes you want to tell these other coaches, it doesn't have to be this hard?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. I tell all my coaches too, if you miss a recital, a baseball game, a basketball game, I'll fire your ass. I mean, I had to do that with one job I had. And you don't get that time back. Your kids are grown and gone, and you're still sitting in the office. There's time. You can come back at 11 o'clock at night if you want to. Go to the game. If it's a Pee-wee football game on Saturday morning, hell, miss the walkthrough. We'll cover it. Make sure you do everything with your kids.
You've built. It's a trusting culture. Tom Brady brings in Antonio Brown, well documented, had some issues before Tampa. Did you and Tom, you trusted Tom trusted AB. Was that a difficult acquisition?
No, it's really funny because, Tom brought it up in the summer. He was looking at 8-game suspension. And I coached AB. We drafted him in Pittsburgh. I had him for the first couple of years. So I knew him, personally. And as our season went on, Chris Godwin's down, Mike Evans is on one leg, and we've got a really good football team. So we owe it to ourselves to investigate all the best players available. So Jason and I went in, what about AB? Brought him in, had a great conversation with him. Obviously, I already knew Tom was on board. And it was Jason and I's idea, like, all right, let's go with it. And when AB and I met, it's like, dude, there's no second chances. All right, this is – you and I know each other, all right? This is it. This is your last rodeo. And he'd been great.
Well, he's also been important. I mean, he's, you have a rare situation right now between, Scotty and Chris and Mike, hell, OJ Howard. You got 3 tight ends when Gronk comes back. AB. You had Tyler Johnson, the kid out of the Minnesota, who is not a burner, but he's more of a possession guy, but he's a really smart, cagey player. Do you have to sometimes tell these guys, fellas, there's going to be 29, 32 passes today. This isn't going to be your week. especially for accomplished people, Bruce. That's never been a problem in the NFL, but there's so many good receivers. Seems like you have about 20% of the league's receivers. Is there moments or weeks where you got to tell guys, this is not going to be your week production-wise?
No, we kind of put that fire out a long time ago, and it starts with Mike Evans. He's probably the most unselfish superstar I've ever coached. He just wants to win. Chris Godwin is the same type of guy. And, they're best friends. I said, as long as we're winning. And, and AB bought right in. Look, dude, you're not playing 80 snaps a game, but each guy has a role. They all pull for each other. And if you bitch about not getting it from Brady, you probably ain't going to get it.
Right. Attention, listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Houston to Australia. Do you have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new lawnmower. Yes, kick your issues to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity for all the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping with the code Colin. Again, that's manscaped.com, code Colin. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, ear, nose hair trimmer, the very best performance boxer briefs. Yes, first scheduled for liftoff, the new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the 4th generation trimmer. By the way, get 20% off. You get free shipping with the code Colin, manscaped.com. I tell my audience all the time, this is the golden age of quarterbacks. They're tall, they're short, they're fast, they're slow. It doesn't matter. It is incredible what I'm watching right now. So through the years, you've written a book on this. Are there things that you look at for a young quarterback and you just know, Bruce, okay, that's not going to work in this league, or that's a trait that doesn't work? Because a lot of different stuff, Bruce, works. I thought Kyler was too small. I didn't think Josh Allen was accurate enough. And I look up and I'm like, they're 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. But are there things, if I was a dad listening to this and I got a high school quarterback, are there things like A, not going to work, B, not going to work in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's the hardest thing to judge, and that's the brain. If you can't process information in 1.52 seconds, you can't play. And you can be as talented as there ever was, but if you can't process that information within split seconds, that's really what separates all the good ones. And I think what's really helped all these 7-on-7 leagues in high school and all these high school teams throwing the ball more than they were. There's no more wing tees and, or wishbones. And it's like the college is got total flooded with athletes playing quarterback. Now, you can separate them on the blackboard quickly.
Yeah.
And you can watch the tape and like, oh, he looks once and he takes off running. He's going to struggle. All right. Now, if he's Michael Vick, that might be different.
That's right.
If it's Lamar, it might be now Lamar's really came on as a passer. And
yes.
He could spin it at Louisville, And so I think each and every one, you can't judge the heart and the brain. You can measure everything else.
It's interesting, Bruce. I don't need to name names, but there are coaches that seek power in personnel. Jason has always been an underrated talent evaluator. I mean, good God, you go get Tryon from Washington. I saw his high school tape. He was a skinny guy, didn't even look like an NFL player. He was a 3-star guy from Tacoma, Federal Way. And then I watched him at Washington put on like 30 pounds. And when you guys got him, I'm like, oh my God, they went and got another one. It doesn't feel like to me you have this power need to control personnel, but you also know it. So how do you and Jason work? Because, man, when you look at your last 3 or 4 drafts, you guys don't miss.
Yeah, it's a great collaboration between the scouts, the coaches. We're all in it together. We just want to get the best 8 or 9 players or 10 players that day that are going to make us better the next year. And who cares who gets the credit? If I don't care, Jason is a very undervalued in this league. I know that for sure. I mean, he's one of the best I've been around, and we worked together in Arizona. Steve Keim and I had that same relationship.
Yep.
And it was like, hey, let's just get the best players for the Bucs to win. And we have a blast. He and I sit there, and the scouts, they have their board. The coaches have their guys, and I'll tell all the coaches, give me a guy you love in the 5th round. Give me a guy, you're not getting the 1st round pick. You give me a guy you love in the 6th that you're going to jump on the table for. And then we have that huge 135, 140 guys on that board. And Jason has a great way of, he's going to go right about here. You want him, or him? I was like, I want him. All right, we'll move him up here. And that is so much fun, massaging that board the week of the draft. And I used to hate the draft. Now I love the draft. And
why'd you hate it?
When I was assistant coach, I had no control.
Okay.
And you just get your voice, and then let's get out of here. And but now it's so much fun. And if and when I ever retire, that's something I'm really miss.
Yeah, I tell friends the draft outside of the season, the draft's my favorite sporting event in the country because I love college football. I make this argument. A lot of the quarterbacks come from the West, but you could almost live off the SEC outside of quarterback. If I just said you can only draft the SEC, and I don't know why it is, maybe it's the culture. It matters more to them. But when are you looking for a different kind of player offensively to defensively? Like defensively, guy's got to have a little dynamite in him. Like he's okay to just lead head first. Are there different personalities for different positions in your career?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. And that's the hardest thing in evaluation. That we're so limited now in that personal one-on-one stuff, not having a combine, those little silly interviews, they're important to get to know the guy for 15 minutes, because you can tell a bullshitter in a heartbeat. And, the guy that's rehearsed all his answers. And then hey, man, when's the last time you smoked dope? Was it yesterday? Did you get high yesterday before you ran? And you start seeing him shaking like, we're going to fail a drug test, dude, But yes, that going out to the colleges, now we can only take 3 guys. We used to have an entourage on people we really liked. It might be not the guy that's a star. It might be 2 guys that were working out with him that you just wanted to look at in person, go out of the backfield and catch little things, and hey, just listen, them reacting to your coaching. One of the greatest workout I ever had was Patrick Mahomes. And
really?
Yeah, it's so smart. I mean, Byron and I had him on the board for about an hour and a half. And, you could see the arm. I mean, the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour in Lubbock, which was a nice day. And in the middle of the workout, I say, hey, I'm the safety, I'm blitzing. It's slide protection. And he ripped off exact words to fix the protection. And he just learned them an hour and a half before that in a meeting. Then I was like, hey, I'm the strong safety. It's man protection. He fixed it. Like I looked at Byron, and we've had guys that took 3 years to get that done. All right, it was like amazing. His recall from that meeting out on the field, and the arm was crazy.
Have you had a quarterback you work with? You're surprised how good they got.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of guys. Kelly Holcomb is one of my favorite all-time guys. He was just a battler, but every time he played, he'd throw for 400. And whether it was Indy, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I think he had 3 or 4 starts in Cleveland. They were all 400 yards. One was in the playoffs against the Steelers. But I might have had something to do with him. The rest of them, God and their parents, they did all that.
When we have 17 games now, you're playing really well. You have a hiccup in Los Angeles, you're playing well. They always talk about this in college basketball. You don't want to peak in January. You want to peak in March. Have you thought about, okay, I got some veteran players. I'm going to give him the bye week. I'm going to give him, this is no shell this week, no pads. Have you thought about, Bruce, the year differently because of just it's an extra week, but it is substantial to players?
Yeah, we've changed our Wednesday practice schedule already, and Thursday. We've taken some reps out. Each practice, forget which week it was, we just walked through on a Wednesday. It was a real physical game. We had some guys beat up that wouldn't practice, that are going to play on Sunday, but they wouldn't practice. Let's just do a walkthrough. and come back and have a really heavy practice on Thursday. We got a great sports science team here who helps me a bunch with that kind of stuff. But I have about 7 guys over 30 that we really monitor their workload. You know, Fridays, we have a lot of guys that don't practice on Friday, so they're ready for Sunday.
Is it so that's easy for you to embrace? It's not easy for everybody. Like, there's been a little bit of a revolution in the last 6 or 7 years. I mean, McVay came in this league and said, I'm not playing anybody in the preseason. I'm not playing anybody. A lot of people push back on that. Do you ever see, you have always been willing. I mean, hell, you retired, you broadcasted, you came back. You're always kind of an adapter. A lot of guys are rigid. You're not a real rigid guy. I mean, last year in the bye, you and Tom came out and the offense had been tweaked. Where does that come from? That most football coaches, it's the football mentality. This is my lane. That's not, I don't perceive that as you. Where does that come from?
I think I've always been a listener, you know, and if you're telling me stuff and it makes sense to me, like this sports science stuff was all new. Started in Arizona with us. You know, we went 13-3, came back, lost the championship game, had a killer spring, killer camp, and lost the entire team with injuries. So this year, I was like, I don't want to see a vet until mandatory minicamp. We took the 50 young guys. We had OTAs. And you could come if you wanted to, but you weren't going to practice. All right. And then we had the minicamp. And man, bro, they were about to kill each other. I'm like, whoa, slow down. We don't have any pads or nothing. It's like, then we got to camp and we had a hell of a good camp. But again, you're not practicing today. You're practicing 2, you're off 1. Just load management those guys through camp. Tom, how's your arm today? Do you need a day? No, he hates not practicing. But I was like, you're not practicing today. All right. And just making them take a day off. And those guys do a great job with, man, they got so many gizmos on them. And you can tell what legs is weak and just by how they're running with all the stuff. But you got to have somebody that can read that shit. I have no clue what that stuff means. They send me these graphs all the time. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Is he tired? Yeah, he's tired. Coach, take the damn day off.
You know, when you left Arizona, if I recall, it was kind of a burnout thing. How did you get talked back into coming to coach?
Yeah, it was, you know, I enjoyed broadcasting. I hated to travel. You know, I'm used to getting on a team bus and a team plane and go to the game and come back. It's like that shit going through the airport and grabbing cabs. And that wasn't going to cut it anymore. But I love going to practice on Fridays. I love talking to the coaches and seeing the coaches. And then my son's my agent. And he said, look, you got to talk to Jason. And I said, what do you mean? He said, hey, you know, they got a really good young football team. It's close to home. Then as I got interested, my whole staff became available. And my wife said, look, Todd, Byron, Keith, the whole 18 guys, and we've added some more. It's like I told my wife, you're going to walk in with 18 wives. You guys can go have a hell of a lunch on Tuesday right off the bat. And it's like the grandbabies are close. Everything just fell into place. And I think she could tell how excited I got about it. And, you know, and I got to give the Glazier family a lot of credit because I don't fit the mold they hired. I'm not the 30-something young genius, you know, but it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I worked down in Tampa for 2 years. Rich McKay was the GM. Sam Weiss and Tony were the coach. I loved the Glazier family. They were great to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they by the way, they're about family. They are. They were always that way. You know, it is interesting. We kind of joke a couple of years ago. Shit, if you had a lunch with Sean McVay, you got a job. It was like everybody had to be young. And I'm like, come on, Belichick's still winning a lot of games. We got to slow down on the young thing. If you coach Bruce today against 36-year-old Bruce Arians, where would you take advantage of him? And where would you look at and go, oh, like coach against yourself 25 years ago?
Well, you better be physical. First of all, your team better be physical. You know, because when I was 36, I was still the head coach at Temple, and it was my last year. But when we played, you knew you were in a football game. You're going to lose some guys in the game, and you might beat us, but you might lose next week.
Right.
And it was like, that was our motto, Temple Tough and Broad Street Bullies and all that good stuff. And so, yeah, I would know that when I'm going against this guy, this is going to be a physical game.
And that hasn't changed for you.
No, that's still, having been a wishbone quarterback, I guess, it was ingrained in me that was the way to play the game. And, I was so fortunate because I don't know if you know the story, but my senior year in college, I was trying to get a junior high coaching job and I didn't get it. And we got a new coach. He talked me into coming back out my 5th year. And we had 58 guys in my freshman class on scholarship. I was the only one to make it to the 3rd head coach. And that guy changed my life. I mean, I started as 7th team quarterback, ended up captain of the team, most valuable player. And my record held for 40 years. Most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in 1 year. So I win more money on that one than me or Michael Vick.
So you sort of get the Tom Brady chip on the shoulder overlook thing. Like you probably get it totally.
All the way. I mean, we went Super Bowl 43, and every offensive coordinator who's won a 2-minute drive to win a Super Bowl has at least got an interview. I didn't even get a phone call. And it was like, this isn't in the cards. Wow. For me to become a head coach, Chuck had to get leukemia.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. We've also had a lot of drinks talking about it, and probably because I'd have probably told you exactly what I thought. And I did one of those interviews. And don't ask me a question if you don't want the right answer. I don't give a shit who you are.
Right. Well, to be honest with you, this is a true story. When I covered Tampa, Tony Dungy had to interview 3 times to get the job. And I remember they went to Burn's Steakhouse, and I talked to Rich McKay. I was a reporter. And I said, are you going to name him after this? He goes, listen, we know he's the guy, but shit, he's so quiet. He goes, we'd just like to see him fired up a little. So you and Tony didn't fit the mold. I mean, it was very much there was a Parcells, Noel, kind of a physical presence, kind of angry. You didn't fit the mold.
And I was probably more that way than the other. And, but I wouldn't change anything. That's for damn sure.
After winning the Super Bowl, was there a moment when you're with your wife, you're having a margarita and you're looking at the Tampa sunset? Maybe it's the Causeway, maybe you're on Davis Island, and you kind of pinch yourself and you're like, Tom Brady, married to the woman I love. What a great city. I mean, has there ever been a little bit of an out-of-body experience like, Jesus, this stuff has really worked out?
Yeah, I mean, on the field at the game, we only had 3 people on the field. So my wife, my son, and my daughter, they came running out. We just had the most unbelievable family hug because it's been a hell of a journey.
Right.
We've moved 19 times. My daughter. Wow. My daughter went 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. She would have went to 12th grade, but I left and she stayed. All right. So it wasn't not an easy journey. And so it was, we have a huge picture of it. It was just the most gratifying moment, I think, ever. And then we did go out to a local tiki bar and just sit in the sunset and go, this is really cool.
You're in right now. It looks like you're in good shape. There's no reason to stop, right?
No, I'm having a blast and physically really good right now. And, the thing in Arizona, that second cancer thing really shook me up. And, but that and my son turned 40, and that really shook me up. And where did all that go? And, but the cancer, that was like, is this all worth it? And then once we got all cleared up and all that was gone and healthy again, then all this was available.
You're in good spirits. That's what winning streaks do.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Even, after that 13-3 year when we lost all our quarterbacks, everybody, and you fought your ass off to get to 8-8, it's still fun. I know our injury situation right now is bad.
Especially on the back end, yeah.
Probably going to get worse before it gets better, but hopefully in 3 weeks, we'll get a bunch of guys back. Just keep hanging on till then.
Great seeing you. You look fantastic. You're an easy guy to root for. Not everybody's easy to root for, Bruce. You're an easy one to root for.
Appreciate it, brother.